Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of upcoming episode of Battle Through the Heavens based on novel. So let's start. The battle in the Star Realm had ended in an overwhelming fashion as Xiao Yan exited his retreat. Xiao Yan and the Falling Star Pavilion's reputation across the Central Plains would soar because of this big battle. He had fought 3 great Ban Xing with his own strength, resulting in 2 deaths and 1 injury. He had even ended up getting an elite Do Xing from the Han clan to personally intervene in order to help the last elite Ban Xing flee. The news of this battle caused the expressions of everyone who heard about it to change. In the eyes of many people, an elite Ban Xing was a legendary existence, yet 2 of these experts, who seemed untouchable to an ordinary person, had been killed by Xiao Yan. Others were involuntarily shocked by these results. After this incident, no other factions in the Central Plains would easily underestimate this rising faction. Compared to the rise of the Falling Star Pavilion, the Profound River Alliance was in an incomparably dismal state. The only elite Ban Xing in the Profound Sky sect had been killed by Xiao Yang. The large group of experts, who had followed the elite Ban Xing to the Star Realm, had ended up dying as well. Everyone was aware that the Profound River Alliance would face difficult times ahead. With their strength, they no longer had the ability to fight with the Falling Star Pavilion, especially after losing a peak expert like Old Demon Tian Ming. Under this panic, many sects that had joined the Profound River Alliance began to worry all day long. Some even hurriedly withdrew from the Profound River Alliance in an attempt to draw a clear line between them. These withdrawals ended up adding insult to injury to the Profound River Alliance. Its destruction was only a matter of time. While the Central Plains was in an uproar because of the big battle in the Star Realm, the Falling Star Pavilion appeared relatively quiet. They cleaned up the mess in the Star Realm during the first few days. This large-scale attack by the Profound River Alliance had caused the Falling Star Pavilion to suffer significant losses, but these losses appeared insignificant when compared to the other party. This peacefulness lasted for 3 days before the revenge of the Falling Star Pavilion officially began. The retaliation of the Falling Star Pavilion was led by the Do Xing Xiao Yang and the Ban Xing Yao Lao. The Profound River Alliance suffered a complete and miserable defeat. They had even failed to form an effective defense before the Falling Star Pavilion had occupied the headquarters of the Profound River Alliance, which was also the headquarters of the Profound Sky sect. After the chief of the Profound Sky sect was randomly killed by a slap from Xiao Yang, everyone understood that this Profound Sky sect, which once possessed a ferocious reputation in the Central Plains, was finished. The Profound River Alliance did not even manage to last a day before everyone within the alliance began to scatter in panic. Those small sects, who had been using the name of the Profound Sky Alliance to conduct scams, instantly changed their stances. Not only did they not lend a hand when they saw members of the Profound River Alliance, they went all out to beat them when they were down. It appeared as though they were trying to show how much they hated the Profound River Alliance. The Falling Star Pavilion was unconcerned about these fence-sitters. After taking the Profound River Alliance headquarters, the large contingent began to separate and attack the stronger factions within the Profound River Alliance, like the Ice River Valley and the Wind Lightning Pavilion. These 2 factions had contributed to the attack on the Falling Star Pavilion. These fellows were like the teeth and claws of the Profound Sky sect. They were naturally not let off. This time around, Xiao Yang and Yao Lao eliminated these sects as a deterrent. Wind Lightning Pavilion. Xiao Yang remained suspended in the sky. He looked at the extremely chaotic mountain that was encompassed by a sea of fire. An indifferent expression was in his eyes. He had led an army from the Falling Star Pavilion here. Along the way, he had eliminated a couple of the claws and teeth of the Profound River Alliance. He did not show any mercy at this moment. He was clearly aware that the Falling Star Pavilion would have been many times more miserable given the methods of the Profound Sky sect and the Hall of Souls if he had not left his retreat in time. Now was not the time to show mercy. The weak were food for the strong within the Central Plains. Only a powerful strength allowed one to survive. Xiao Yang, my Wind Lightning Pavilion has a good relationship with the Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe. The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe will definitely not let you off for daring to destroy my wind lightning pavilion. An elite Dozun from the Falling Star Pavilion smashed Lei Zunja until he flew back and spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. Lei Zunja's eyes were vicious as they stared at Xiao Yan. The Heaven Demon Phoenix tribe, I will resolve my grudge with them in the future. Xiao Yan observed Lei Zunja in an indifferent manner. When he had first arrived at the Wind Lightning Mountain range, Lei Zunja appeared unreachable in his eyes. That person was an elite Dozun who could kill Xiao Yan by clenching his hand. However, both parties' positions had switched. My Falling Star Pavilion has 28 experts who died to your hands. When you killed them back then, you should have understood that this day would come. Xiao Yan lowered his head. He slowly extended his hand and aimed it at Lei Zunja. Lei Zunja's face was shocked upon seeing Xiao Yan lift his arm. He activated the 3000 lightning movement to its limit, and many afterimages appeared in the sky. 3000 lightning movement, Xiao Yan faintly laughed when he saw the many afterimages. His hand was gently clenched. Bang! Space itself immediately collapsed after his hand was clenched. An afterimage in the distance suddenly stopped as a dense blood shot out. Lei Zunja did not even emit a miserable screech as he turned into mincemeat. Xiao Yan slowly withdrew his hand. He did not even glance at the cluster of blurry flesh. With a sweep of his eyes, a Falling Star Pavilion elder quickly hurried over. He used a respectful voice to say, "Junior Pavilion Chief, we have managed to gain some information regarding the Han clan as you have instructed. For some unknown reason, they have been suppressed by the Wind Lightning Pavilion over the years. Currently, their clan's strength has already shrank by 90%. They could only be considered a second-tier clan in Qianbei City. Their lives are quite miserable." Xiao Yan was slightly startled upon hearing this. He immediately became quiet as an apology flashed in his eyes. He had a pretty good idea why the Han clan had been suppressed by the Wind Lightning Pavilion. It was most likely because they had been close to him back then. He had been busy training these years and had forgotten the trouble he had brought them. "Have you already sent some people over?" Xiao Yang softly sighed. He was not an ungrateful person. If Han Shui had not rescued him when he had first arrived in the Central Plains, he might have ended up dying in the desert. Although he had helped the Han clan crush the imposing Hong clan within the Qianbei city, the Han clan was then suppressed by the Wind Lightning Pavilion until it fell from a top-tier faction to its current desolate state. Elder Gan 3-man team has already headed over. That elder from the Falling Star Pavilion respectfully responded. Xiao Yang slightly nodded. His eyes glanced at the northern sky. Both of his hands were placed behind him as he became quiet. Qianbei City, Han clan. Bang! The eyes of everyone from the Han clan were stunned as they looked at the three old men who had suddenly appeared. Their auras were so mighty that they were terrifying. A random wave of a sleeve was all it took to send a few experts out of the courtyard with blood flowing from their mouths. Those few experts had come to the Han clan to find trouble. They lay on the ground with unknown fates. "I am Han Kai, the head of the Han clan. May I know the reason for these elders' visit?" A middle-aged man, with some white hair carefully stepped forward and respectfully inquired. Two tall and beautiful ladies stood on either side of the man. The lady on the left had long silver hair. Her lovely body appeared well-proportioned as she gave off a cold vibe. The lady on the left seemed slightly younger. Her pretty appearance revealed her extraordinary demeanor. Both of these ladies were naturally Han Yu and Han Shui from the Han clan. They were the first acquaintances Xiao Yang had found after arriving in the Central Plains. "Ha ha, clan head Han need not be so courteous. The three of us are from the Falling Star Pavilion. This time around, we have come on the orders of the Junior Pavilion Chief. May I know if clan head Han is interested in expanding the Han clan by becoming the next Wind Lightning Pavilion in this northern region?" A white-haired old man smiled as he inquired. Falling Star Pavilion. Everyone from the Han clan was stunned. "It's him," Han Shui muttered. Her lovely figure trembled while she stood behind Han Kai. "It's Xiao Yang." Han Yu by the side also hurriedly recovered and softly explained. This name was too well known across the Central Plains. The Wind Lightning Pavilion will no longer exist in this northern region in the future. If the Han clan is interested, you can replace it. The three of us will do our best to help. The Falling Star Pavilion elder laughed. Han Kai was momentarily startled upon hearing these words. His body intensely trembled as a wild joy filled his face. The Falling Star Pavilion was soaring within the Central Plains. If their Han clan could hop onto this large tree, they would not even to bother about the old Wind Lightning Pavilion, much less the other clans. Ha ha, Clan Head Han, please rest assured that Junior Pavilion Chief has personally mentioned this. There is no mistake. That elder laughed after seeing Han Kai's excitement grow. Did he not come? Han Shui bit her lower red lip with the back of her teeth. Her bright eyes looked at the elder as she softly asked. That elder from the Falling Star Pavilion hesitated for a moment after hearing her question. He shook his head. With his eyesight, he was naturally able to tell that the young lady possessed some feelings for the Junior Pavilion Chief, but he did not know whether these feelings were one-sided or mutual. Hence, he did not dare to slight her. He quickly took 2 jade bottles from his storage ring and handed them to Han Shui and Han Yu before saying, "The Junior Pavilion Chief instructed me to give these to you ladies. The Junior Pavilion Chief has also requested me to thank Miss Han Shui for rescuing him back then." Han Shui's originally bright eyes dimmed as she stared at the jade bottle. She quietly nodded and took the jade bottle. Without speaking, she turned around and left. Han Yu by the side could only sigh after seeing her leave. She followed Han Shui out of the room before hugging her soft delicate waist. She always knew that this younger sister of hers had some feelings for Xiao Yan, but Xiao Yan was too dazzling. Han Yu lowered her head slightly and looked at Han Shui's curled red lips. She could see a stubbornness on Han Shui's face. This stubborn girl was unwilling to give up even at this stage. Han Yu could only softly sigh. That kind of man was not someone women like them could subdue. The revenge of the Falling Star Pavilion continued for 10 days. During these 10 days, at least 20 sects were exterminated by the Falling Star Pavilion's army. These factions, which were not very powerful, could not retaliate against the Falling Star Pavilion, which possessed a high-level Ban Xing, a 1-star Do Xing, and many top experts. The eruption of the Falling Star Pavilion violently shook many factions. In the past, the Falling Star Pavilion had maintained itself in one corner and quietly developed. It did not display any overwhelming power, causing some factions to not treat this rising faction seriously. However, the retaliation of the Falling Star Pavilion allowed everyone to understand that it was not docile. Instead, it was a ferocious tiger that would bite if angered. After 10 days passed, the Falling Star Pavilion's large army began to pull back. After all, they did not wish to massacre everyone. Necessary deaths would enable the Falling Star Pavilion to establish an imposing might, but the deaths could not be outrageous. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao had controlled the outcome relatively well. The Hall of Souls was relatively quiet, while the Falling Star Pavilion engaged in a wild revenge. They did not dispatch any experts to provide aid to the Profound River Alliance, but Xiao Yang's group did not relax. The Hall of Souls was always mysterious. It was definitely gathering its strength by not fighting this time around. Once the time was ripe, it would give the Falling Star Pavilion a truly lethal blow. Xiao Yang's group would naturally not underestimate this potential danger. Even though Xiao Yang had become a genuine Do Xing, he needed to remain extremely cautious while facing a frightening faction like the Hall of Souls and the Hun clan. If they truly wished to fight the Hall of Souls, then the matter of the alliance was the Falling Star Pavilion's top priority. Hence, 2 letters were delivered by 2 Falling Star Pavilion experts to the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley while the army was gradually pulling back. Although these 2 factions were not as frightening as the Pill Tower, they were still top factions within the Central Plains. Roping them in would strengthen the alliance. There was no need to hurry to invite smaller sects. Once the 3 large factions agreed to the alliance, all of these smaller sects would naturally swarm over. As long as they set the bar a little high, a super alliance that was comparable to the Hall of Souls would be born in Xiao Yang's hands. Xiao Yan slowly sighed in relief, as he watched the figures swiftly disappear from the sky. Both of his hands were placed behind his back. All they could do was quietly wait for the offers to return. If they were unable to convince the Flower Sect or the Burning Flame Valley, their alliance would face a setback. A faint flower fragrance lingering within a large hall in the Flower Sect. This large hall might be spacious, but it appeared quite empty. Only a couple of figures were sitting in the hall. Yun was present among these people, but she was not sitting in the leader's chair despite her being the sect chief of the Flower Sect. Instead, there were two figures currently seated in the leader's spot. The two figures were wearing pale yellow clothes. They did not look old since their skin was somewhat smooth. They had gained a unique charm, because of the faint wrinkles at the corner of their eyes. Below these two people sat the various elders of the Flower Sect. However, these people expressed their respect when they looked at the two pale yellow-clothed ladies, who appeared far younger than many of the elders. First elder, what do you think about this offer? The silence within the large hall continued for a moment before a lady in the leader's seat lifted both of her eyes to look at an old woman below. Her voice was faint as she inquired, and a scroll sat in front of her. The scroll displayed the unique insignia of the Falling Star Pavilion. The first elder hesitated when she heard this woman's question. She respectfully said, "Grand Elder, the current Falling Star Pavilion is very different than what they were in the past. Even our Flower Sect cannot compare to them in terms of strength. Even though they have grown, there is still a gap between them and the Hall of Souls. The Falling Star Pavilion and the Hall of Souls are at complete odds with each other. If we agree to the alliance, it would mean that we will oppose the Hall of Souls, and opposing the Hall of Souls is dangerous." The yellow-clothed woman nodded upon hearing this summary. She commented aloud, "I never would have guessed that Yao Chen wasn't dead, and that he has even reached the high-level Ban Xing class. That disciple of his is even more frightening. He surpassed Yao Chen, and reached the Do Xing class before him. Such strength is indeed stronger than our Flower Sect. As for that Hall of Souls, the both of us have fought with them in the past. They are indeed an extremely troublesome existence. Grand Elder, the alliance might be a little risky, but it will benefit our Flower Sect. The development of the Flower Sect has halted for many years. We have frequently been suppressed by the Profound Sky Sect during these years. If we could truly form an alliance, the reputation of our Flower Sect will undoubtedly grow again." Yun was quiet for a moment before she softly spoke. No matter what, she needed to stand on Xiao Yan's side to help him speak. The Profound Sky Sect is indeed a troublesome housefly. Back then, both Big Sister and I were only intermediate Ban Xings. Even if we were to join hands, we would only end up at a draw with that old demon Tian Ming. When Big Sister successfully reached the high-level Ban Xing, we originally planned to find that old demon to fight. Who would have expected him to end up being killed by Xiao Yang? The yellow-clothed lady smiled. Her eyes shifted to Yun, and an unknown feeling was present in the corner of her mouth. Yun, it is rumored that you and that Xiao Yang have some relationship. It would be incredible if you can pull such a person to our Flower Sect side. Yun could only helplessly shake her head after hearing these words. This Grand Elder might appear extremely old, but she seemed to really like teasing others. This matter should be decided by Big Sister, the yellow-clothed lady smiled. She stretched her lazy waist and did not express an opinion. She tossed the ball to the lady, who had never uttered a single word since the beginning. Everyone's eyes gathered on that somewhat cold-looking woman. Yun's hands quietly tightened. Although she was the chief of the Flower Sect, she still needed to obtain an answer from these two Grand Elders when it came to such a large decision. She was aware of the Falling Star Pavilion's current situation, so she was doing all she could to get the Flower Sect to truly stand alongside the Falling Star Pavilion. The cold-looking woman's eyebrows twitched as many pairs of eyes shot over. A calm and simple sentence was emitted from her mouth: "Join the alliance, fight the Hall of Souls." Yun sighed in relief and felt a great burden lift from her heart after hearing this short sentence. The remaining elder hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I knew that you would make this choice. Back then, you even dared to argue with teacher because of that old fellow, but you should also be clearly aware that the old fellow doesn't really care about such things. That yellow-clothed lady bitterly laughed. She waved her hand nonchalantly after the cold lady did not respond. She said, "Since Big Sister has made her decision, give the Falling Star Pavilion her reply." Understood. All the elders respectfully replied upon hearing this order. Burning Flame Valley. Alliance. Deal with the Hall of Souls. Those neither human nor ghost creatures might really be repulsive, but who would oppose them for no reason? No way. Ask them to leave. Within a quiet bamboo forest deep within the Burning Flame Valley, an old man with fire-red hair swung the scroll in his hand onto the stone table. He spoke with impatience. Tang Jun and Tang Hua in front of the stone table helplessly emitted a bitter laugh, because of this old fellow's reaction. This old fellow had lived for many years, but his temper was still so hot. That old man let out a couple of intense coughs after venting his temper. His face became hot. Tang Hua hurriedly stepped forward and gently pat his back. Hua is still the best. That red-haired old man's face appeared a little better after being patted by Tang Hua. He glanced at the scroll on the table and suddenly said, "That Xiao Yan is a one-star douching. He isn't very old, right? If his looks are passable, ask him to marry Tang Hua, and this elderly self will agree to the alliance." Bang. Tang Hua was patting the red-haired old man's back, but when she heard these words, her face turned bright red as her hand violently slammed against the old man's back. She yelled with embarrassed anger, "Old fellow, you should worry that no one will send you off when you die if you continue to spout nonsense." Cough, Hua, do not be rude, Tang Jun coughed as he pouted. Being able to attain such an achievement at such an age indicates just how outstanding this Xiao Yang is, and he was even able to gather the both of you on his side. Clearly, this person has left you both with a good impression. It is not easy to satisfy the two of you. The red-haired old man laughed with a strange expression. Hua rolled her eyes and was too lazy to bother with this old fellow. She turned around and sat in a corner. "Ancestor, they have said that they will resolve the hidden trouble in your body if you agree to the alliance." Tang Jun helplessly shook his head and added more to the offer. The red-haired old man lifted a brow upon hearing this temptation. He lazily sat on the stone chair and randomly picked up a fruit from the table. He took a violent bite and asked, "What if I don't agree?" "Don't agree, huh?" Xiao Yang said that he will still help you remove the hidden trouble in your body. Tang Jun smiled as he replied. Creak. The red-haired old man's mouth stiffened as he bit into the fruit. After which, he tossed it aside with an expressionless face. He was quiet for a moment before he said in a faint voice, "This little fellow is not bad. Without this last part, there would have been no chance of me agreeing to this alliance." "Ancestor, you mean?" Tang Jun laughed. "Join the alliance." The red-haired old man sat up from the stone chair. He suddenly stretched his lazy waist. A terrifying aura slowly spread from his body, reverberating across the land. "It has been many years since I have shown myself. I wonder if this continent still remember my name, Ancestor Han Yun. Have the Flower Sect and Burning Flame Valley agreed to the alliance?" Xiao Yang listened to a report from the two elders in front of him within the main hall of the Falling Star Pavilion. He suddenly stood up. His face was filled with joy. "Ha ha, the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley have both given us a clear reply. They are waiting for the Junior Pavilion Chief to decide when to announce this news." A Falling Star Pavilion elder smiled as he replied. Xiao Yang, Kaylin, and the rest sighed in relief after hearing these words. Things were always difficult at the start. With this good beginning, it would be much easier to deal with the subsequent matters. The Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley possessed a strong reputation within the Central Plains. Their participation would undoubtedly increase the reputation of the Alliance, far surpassing the reputation of the Profound River Alliance when it had been formed back then. The smooth progress of this alliance has somewhat exceeded my expectations. Yao Lao fondled his beard and laughed. After all, the Hall of Souls was not an ordinary faction. Opposing them would require a lot of courage. In that case, when will we meet the two sects to discuss the details of the alliance? Kaylin asked. There is no need to hurry. Although the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley have agreed to join, it is still not enough. If we wish to fight the Hall of Souls, we definitely need to rope the Pill Tower in. Otherwise, it will be quite difficult. Yao Lao slowly shook his head as he explained the situation. Xiao Yan slightly nodded. The joy in his heart was gradually diminished. He also understood that the most important of the three large factions was the Pill Tower. This faction possessed the ability to summon experts across the Central Plains. If they joined, the alliance's reputation would soar to an unbelievable high. At that time, they would not be inferior to the Hall of Souls even when it came to a head-on clash. However, Xiao Yan was aware that it would not be easy to get the Pill Tower to join the alliance. The Pill Tower had always maintained a neutral stance. It had never joined any camp ever since it had been founded. Even though these people hated the Hall of Souls to their very bones, the chances of success in convincing them to join the alliance were not very high. Shall we send a letter as a probe? The little fairy doctor suggested. Yao Lao shook his head. He said, this must not be done recklessly. If we wish to convince them to join the alliance, it is likely that I must personally visit the Pill Tower with Xiao Yang. The result of sending anyone else will definitely end the same. Xiao Yang nodded. The Pill Tower was not like the Flower Sect and the Burning Flame Valley. They needed to head over personally if they wished to form this alliance. So it's like this, it's just as well. I will take care of the Falling Star Pavilion. The matters over this period of time have mostly been settled. There will likely not be any more trouble. When are the both of you leaving? Cai Lin nodded and supported this approach. The final decision of the Pill Tower was a critical part of this alliance. They needed to treat it with great care. This matter cannot be delayed. We will leave today. Xiao Yang exchanged glances with Yao Lao, and the both of them replied simultaneously. This matter had to be resolved as soon as possible. With the decision made, Xiao Yang and Yao Lao did not delay any longer. The both of them made some preparations before hurrying to the Pill region. Since the Falling Star Pavilion had just stabilized, only the two of them left on this trip. Cai Lin, the little fairy doctor, and the rest remained behind to guard the Falling Star Pavilion. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao could both be considered elite Doshings. Their speed was naturally not something an ordinary expert could compare with. They tore through space and traveled to their destination. Under this frightening speed, they had reached the Holy Pill City in the Pill region in half a day. Xiao Yang felt somewhat emotional as he arrived on the outskirts of the Holy Pill City. This place was where he had truly become famous in the Central Plains. During the Pill Gathering, he had relied on himself to turn the tide around and defeat the expert from the Hall of Souls, preventing the champion spot of the Pill Gathering from landing in the hands of someone from the Hall of Souls. Putting it this way, the Pill Tower owed Xiao Yang a favor. After all, if the champion spot had been taken by the Hall of Souls, the reputation of the Pill Tower would have suffered a huge blow. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao did not stop, because of the bustling streets, after entering the Holy Pill City. Instead, they entered the Pill Tower. Xiao Yang and Yao Lao were seated in a large hall at the top level of the Pill Tower. An elder of the Pill Tower quickly withdrew and informed the three great heads of their arrival. These three fellows seemed to have formed great airs about them now. Yao Lao lifted the teacup beside him, took a sip and laughed. Both he and Xiao Yang were fatigued after traveling here, but fortunately the both of them were extraordinary. Hence, they were able to endure this fatigue. Xiao Yang smiled. He knew that Yao Lao's relationship with the three heads was quite good, so he did not comment. The silence in the large hall continued for a moment before it was broken by the sound of hurried footsteps. The tightly shut door was pushed open, and a loud laugh quickly followed. Ha ha, what a rare guest. Old Yao, it is unexpected that I am able to see you again. The tightly shut door had been opened. A white-robed Xian Kong Zi laughed and quickly entered. Tian Lei Zi and Xian Yu quickly followed him in. Both of their eyes contained some excitement as they looked at Yao Lao in the large hall, who was holding a teacup. It has been a long time since we have last met. How are you? Yao Lao placed his teacup down. He looked at those three and greeted them with a grin. Xian Kongzi and the two behind him quickly walked through the large hall. They arrived in front of Yao Lao and looked at his familiar face. A moment later, Xian Kongzi softly sighed. He patted Yao Lao's shoulder as he said, "It is unexpected that I am still able to see you while we are still alive." The smile on Yao Lao's face became denser after seeing the way they acted. He patted Xian Kongzi's shoulder before his eyes landed on Xian Yi by the side. He laughed, "It has been so many years since we have met, but you are still as beautiful as ever. You don't appear like the few of us old fellows." Xian Yi's face reddened slightly upon hearing this compliment and both of her eyes filled with some moisture. Her little girl-like demeanor caused Xiao Yan to feel speechless. It seemed that this giant head of the pill tower really held some feelings for Yao Lao. Even he had managed to guess this with a glance. The four of them laughed and chatted for a while after they met. Xiao Yang was unable to interrupt. All he could do was helplessly stand by the side and accompany them. "Ha ha, old Yao, you have really accepted a good disciple. He is young, but he has already reached the Doxing class. Moreover, he also values relationships. If any accident were to befall you back then, the old me would really have wished to snatch him." The few of them finally saw Xiao Yang by the side after chatting for a while. Xian Kongzi immediately laughed. "Elder Xian Kongzi, please don't tease this young self." Xiao Yang involuntarily and bitterly laughed before giving a reply. He, I am unworthy of the term elder now. Those who are stronger are the masters. Regardless of whether it is in terms of training Do Qi or alchemist skills, it is likely that I am unable to compare with you. Xian Kongzi smiled as he responded. He had just luckily advanced to the Bansheng class a year ago, but he vaguely felt as though he was facing an endless sea in front of Xiao Yang. He could not even detect Xiao Yang's limit. "All right, you would not visit for no reason. Old Yao, your visit to my pill tower definitely involves some big matters, right?" Xian Kongzi laughed. He changed the conversation as he looked back at Yao Lao. The smile on Yao Lao's face diminished after hearing that they were about to discuss the important matters. He mused for a moment before explaining the matter of the alliance in detail. "Alliance, this matter is a little troublesome. It is not as if you are unaware of how stubborn those old fellows are." Xian Kongzi's group all frowned. Xian Kongzi replied after hearing Yao Lao explain the situation. "I am aware that it is troublesome, but I must give it a try. The Hall of Souls is too powerful. None of our party would be able to fight them alone. If we do not form an alliance, neither one of us will be able to escape the claws of the Hall of Souls. I have been captured by the Hall of Souls before. Hence, I have an idea why they are capturing souls, and it likely involves some brewing schemes," Yao Lao replied in a grave manner. Xian Kongzi slightly nodded. He knew that the Hall of Souls would not capture so many spiritual bodies for no reason, but this news alone was not enough to get those old fellows to break from the norm and join the alliance. This matter would be much easier if the ancestor was still around. Just one word from his elderly self would determine the final answer. Xian Yi frowned and replied. "That old thing has disappeared again?" Yao Lao asked in a startled voice. Xian Kongzi and the other two smiled bitterly and nodded together. Xian Kongzi replied, "He has been missing for a long time. It has been many years since we had heard any word from him. If his spiritual jade token wasn't still perfectly fine, even we would have thought that he had met with some mishap." "Ancestor? What is that?" Xiao Yang by the side asked. He could not resist his curiosity after hearing their conversation. Yao Lao had never mentioned that there was an ancestor inside the pill tower. This ancestor could be considered one of the founders of the pill tower. He is also the most experienced person in the pill tower, and his words would influence any decision. If he agreed to this alliance, there would not be a problem, but if he disagrees, there will not be any hope for this alliance. Xian Kongzi hesitated before replying. However, this ancestor loves to roam and have fun in the world. He disappears all the time. Even the three of us have only met him once during these many years. The thing that the ancestor loves to do most is to find pregnant women. Of course, his target is not these pregnant women, but the baby in their wombs. More accurately speaking, he wants to find incidents where the baby has lost its life before leaving the mother's womb due to an accident. After finding a baby who has died early, he will then enter the body of the pregnant woman using a special method and turn into an ordinary baby. He will be born, grow, and live his life as another person until that body finally dies. Only then will he leave, using that old fellow's words to describe it, it is experiencing life. Xiao Yan was completely stunned as he stared at Xian Kong's bitterly smiling face. He laughed dryly and said, "This ancestor is really a very unique human. Additionally, the ancestor is not a human." Xian Kong slowly shook his head. He stared at Xiao Yang and softly said, "His actual form is a medicinal pill." This video will end here.